Hi, and welcome to the Automated Business Results Mind Map session. Today we're going to take you through this crazy spaghetti-like looking mind map. So this is more than anything else, I guess, my mind, Richard James's mind, on how a business should run, specifically through automation. So this is a service business that uses appointments and schedules consultations and what happens when those consultations are set. So let's walk you through this. So we can see that we have here a new prospect. And when a new prospect comes in, and we're not talking necessarily about where they came from, but we are talking about the fact that they just came into your funnel. When they come into your funnel, a couple of things happen. One, they might have been a bad lead, and if they were a bad lead, we just want to enter them into the web form and identify them so they're in the system so the phone call can be tracked and we don't wonder why that phone call fell off. It could be that the initial consultation wasn't set so that they were qualified, but they didn't set an initial consultation. In that case, we're going to start follow-up sequence number 2. We'll get into the follow-up sequences in just a minute. If we look at book only, what that means is they were interested and qualified, but they called in because they reached you via one of your advertising mediums that was talking only about getting a free book, and so they didn't want to set a consultation, they just wanted their free book. If that's the case, we're going to start follow-up sequence number 1. If they scheduled an appointment, that's a great thing, and we're going to want to start the follow-up sequence number 3. And if they scheduled a phone appointment, again, we're going to start a separate follow-up sequence. So let's talk about the follow-up sequences. So for initial consultation not set, what's going to happen? Well, here's our options. So follow-up sequence number 2, what happens is we identify the case type. So depending on the type of practice that you're in, we talk about what kind of case type. If it's bankruptcy, if it's divorce with children, custody, if it's some other type of case type, that we're going to have generic language so that we make sure we send out the right communication specific to the right type of case. We're going to send them what we consider our shock and awe package, and we can outline what a shock and awe package is sometime in the future. You can see a video that I have online of what a shock and awe package could be. But basically this is where we're going to send them something in the mail that's going to further set up the credibility of who you are as a firm, why you're different, and why they should hire you over anybody else. Then we're going to create a no IC set opportunity. So this is an opportunity for the phone person to pick up the phone and call, because we're basically saying this was a qualified person, but they just didn't set an appointment today. And again, this is important. This is the no's. So no, I don't want to set an appointment. And so this phone person is going to automatically start talking to them about this shock and awe package and what was in it and why, they should pay attention to it if they hadn't already, and answer any questions they might have about it. We're going to send a standard double opt-in email, so we're going to make sure they're in our system following basic email principles. We're going to start case-specific no IC emails, so that again is based on this case type. We're going to send out emails that are very specific to them, and some are generic. It's just about the fact that they didn't set an appointment and why they should consider setting an appointment with you. But some of them are very specific to the type of case type that they have. Then we're going to talk about sending case-specific text messages. So this is going to be language about why they should think about coming into hiring your firm for the type of case that they communicated to you about. Text messaging is one of the most newest wave, modern day ways of making this communication happen, because the fact of the matter is people respond to text messages, and the open rate on text messages are much higher than emails. Now, we don't want to do one or the other. This is not an either or, it's a both and. And we use voice blasts. So although we have a person calling the person through this opportunity here, and in this opportunity, by the way, they're going to call them somewhere between 6 and 18 times. We have very specific voice blasts that can come from you, because you, the owner, we want to get you on the phone, but we really don't want you making phone calls. So we have you record a voice blast, and that just goes out talking to them more from a friendly perspective, not selling, just offering good quality information and inviting them to come in because they would make the right decision by coming to see you because of the problems that you can solve or the pain that you can take away from them. Then we're going to tag them, and in our system we make sure we tag them new lead. It just helps us measure it. We tag them that they were a no IC set, and then we make sure we tag them with the proper case type. And the reason we set these tags is because these tags are important, and the reason they're important is because these are what let us know what we should do later. So most of the follow-up sequences are going to have all of these pieces to them, okay, and they're all going to be about the same. They change a little bit, but let's see what happens here if we when they don't set an appointment. Now let's say later on they set an appointment. They don't set an appointment, and based on the follow-up sequences and them getting all of this stuff, they do set an appointment, okay? And they come over here to IC scheduled. Well, what happens is we're going to want to start the follow-up sequence number 3, and you can see that goes all the way around and down here to follow-up sequence number 3. All right, and here's the key. This first line. See, this says pause all other follow-up sequences. What that means is if somebody came into your funnel and they started talking to you and they didn't schedule an appointment, and you're starting to talk to them about why it's important for them to come in, and they schedule an appointment, and then the next day they start hearing from your sales reps, or they start hearing from phone people, or they start hearing voice blasts or emails or text messages that are talking to them about why don't they come in. You look like a fool a little bit because you've got egg on your face, because they're saying, hey, I just scheduled you an appointment, why are you still communicating me like this? So what can be advantageous, if done incorrectly, can be detrimental. So we make sure that our system automatically stops all the other follow-up sequences, and that's a vital part of this system. Again, we talk about the IC set. If the shock and awe package wasn't sent already, if they didn't come from another answer of no, I don't want to set an appointment, or no, I don't want to show up, then we're going to send the shock and awe package. Again, we're going to create the opportunity so that we know there's a phone person can identify what happened. We're going to send out in this opportunity, we're going to send out a task that is an outcome task, and that's going to say what was the outcome of the case, and I'll show you that in a little bit. And then the rest of this is basically the same stuff. We're going to send out very specific case specific messages. Now these are all about reminders, okay? And I think that's important. In the create an IC set opportunity, there's going to be phone calls that are going to go off live that are going to remind the person about their appointment. There are going to be text messages that are sent to the person to remind them about their appointment. There are going to be emails. By the way, the text message can have a bit.ly link to your Google pages so that you can have directions. There's going to be emails with directions to your office confirming the appointment. There's going to be a voice blast from somebody in the office or from you thanking them for setting an appointment. So again, this is the things that we're going to do to communicate with the person to remind them about coming to the office. Why? Well, it's because if we don't get them into your office, you can't possibly close the deal. And if you can't close the deal, then you don't make any money. If you don't make any money, then we're not in business for the right thing. So we want to increase our show rate. And the way that we increase our show rate is to automatically have all these things happen as soon as the appointment is set. Now let's talk about if they were a book only. Again, very similar. The difference is we're going to be communicating them the same way. The only thing is we're not going to be sending out text messages, and we're not going to be we're going to be sending out specific emails, but we're not going to be making a lot of aggressive calls. We're going to have an opportunity for a phone person to make a call, follow up in about 7 days, and talk to them about the book only that they received and the shock and awe package that they received. Now, after they make this call, if for some reason they don't set an appointment, then we put them into the no appointment set stage and we start getting a little bit more aggressive. But when they're just calling for a book, we do it a little softer in the beginning because we realize that they just called for information, and we don't want to try to give them the opinion that they were flipped, you know, that we bait and switch them, right? So if we've talked about book only, we've talked about no IC set, we've talked about bad lead, we talked about what happens if it's scheduled. The phone appointment's the same thing. The only difference as the IC schedule, the only difference is it's going to have language specific about a phone appointment rather than an actual appointment, a physical appointment, and it talks to that language in the emails and the text messages. the next important part is what was the outcome. So in a phone appointment or a scheduled appointment, there is very specific outcomes. Something happens. So either they cancel the appointment, in which case we're going to start talking to them very specifically. We're going to put them into follow-up sequence 2. Follow-up sequence 2, if you remember, was the no IC set. So we're starting to bring them back into the world of communication. We're going to stop the old follow-up sequences. We're going to start the new follow-up sequences. Okay, so we're going to start talking to them again why they should be coming to us. So if they canceled for whatever reason. If they rescheduled, we're going to be starting follow-up sequence number 3, which is really starting the scheduled follow-up sequence again. We're going to be sending them all of the reminder emails again. We're going to be sending their text messages again. And again, it's going to stop all other follow-up sequences that might have happened because they rescheduled. Let's say they canceled and then they rescheduled. So we want to make sure that if they cancel and then they reschedule, that we start this one, but we stop this one, right? And this all happens automatically, and I think that's vital for you to understand that this is automated. Nobody has to go in and tell things to stop. They just have to tell them what the outcomes were, and everything happens automatically from there. The next thing that could happen is that they could not show up. And if they don't show up, we're going to start very specific communication about why they want to show up. And again, this is going to look very similar to all of the other follow-up sequences. We're going to pause it, we're going to identify the case type, and we're going to move them into a phone sequence, and we're going to talk to them about text messages and emails and voice blasts again. And so we're going to put them through a fairly aggressive follow-up sequence if they don't show up to their appointment. If they show up to their appointment, here comes the next step. There are some outcomes. And so when they tell us that they showed, they tell us that they either showed and they hired. And if you have lots of different case types, we're going to identify what case type they hired for. They showed and they said they're going to hire later. So they scheduled another appointment to come back. All right. If they didn't hire, there's going to be different language. So when you look at the hired sequence, this all depends. The hired sequence really all depends on. We're going to first and foremost stop all other follow-up sequences. We're going to create a collections opportunity because depending on the case type you're in, we're going to want to make sure somebody in your collections department is managing all of the fee structure. So whether you bill hourly or you bill on a flat fee, we want to make sure that whatever accordance that your collections department should be doing, whether it's your bookkeeper or you have an actual person that's making phone calls for people that have to make payments to you, that department knows that they've hired and they have to start that process. If in a bankruptcy world, we'll create a homework appointment. A divorce world, it may be a little different. Immigration world, it'd be similar. Criminal and DUI, it could be even different. In a PI case, it's going to change dramatically again. But this will be the next step for the next appointment. We start case-specific hired emails based on the case type that they had, and we have very specific language we use and tell them the process that they're about to go through. We have case-specific voice blasts that we'll use, and again, that's from you, the owner, telling them what to expect, or maybe key staff members, usually from the owner because we don't want to have to worry about changing the message when it's turnover. And then we make sure we tag them appropriately. If they, for whatever reason, schedule later, so basically what we're saying is they've basically rescheduled their appointment to come back and hire again. And we're talking about very specific reminder emails again. We're talking about moving them into an opportunity so that somebody calls them. So it's really more like a rescheduled appointment, but it's based on the fact that they actually had a consultation. So we have more information about them. But same concept. We're going to be aggressively reminding them about their next appointment. And then if they don't hire, now we're going to be aggressively talking to them about why they should come back. Because they're not saying, no, I don't want to hire you. Most likely they're just saying, no, not right now. So the obvious outline here is that the principle is that we take care of all of the people that say no, right? That's the key. No, I don't want to schedule an appointment. No, I don't want to show. No, I don't want to hire, right? And so that's the key to this whole process, is that we follow up until they buy, die, or unsubscribe, and we do it in a way that's systematized, that's measurable, and that makes sure the people in your office are doing what you expect them to do. Because remember, In any particular office, there's what the business owner wants to be happening, there's what the business owner thinks is happening, and then there's what is actually happening. I look forward to our next call together to talk about how we can implement this system into your practice. Thanks and have a great day.